The horrifying, brutal killings of non-locals continuing in Kashmir after the murder of Vijay Kumar, a bank employee, in broad daylight yesterday. Two labourers were shot at late last night. This happened in Budgam. One of them unfortunately succumbed to their injuries. Amid these repeated attacks on non-local and also on Kashmiri minorities, Home Minister Amit Shah will chair a key security review meet today. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, along with other senior members of the administration, will be present in the meeting, where security arrangements for the upcoming Amarnath Yatra will also be discussed. Earlier, Home Minister Amit Shah also chaired a meeting with NSA Ajit Doval over the targeted killings in the Union Territory. This will be, in fact, the second such meeting in less than a fortnight as the situation worsens in the valley. And let's get you details of the number of targeted killings that we've seen in Jammu and Kashmir. Vijay Kumar, a bank manager in Kulgam, was shot dead by terrorists. Chilling footage that's emerged of that particular attack. And then you had in May a Kashmiri Pandit, Rahul Bhatt, who was a government employee, being shot dead by terrorists. These civilian killings have sparked a wave of outrage by the Hindu community who are living in the valley. They're all asking one question: when will this kind of targeted killing and this butchery end?
Innocent victims who fell to jihadi murderers, hunted by cowards desperate to keep the terror pot boiling. Kashmiri Pandit and government employee Rahul Bhatt, singer and dancer Amreen, policeman Saifullah Qadri, Dalit Hindu school teacher Rajani Bala, and now bank employee from Rajasthan Vijay Kumar. On Thursday, Vijay Kumar was gunned down. The chilling images caught on the bank's CCTV cameras, showing a lone terrorist barging into the bank branch in Kulgam, J&K, while Vijay was busy at work on his desk, firing multiple shots at him before fleeing the spot. Vijay received critical gunshot wounds, succumbing to his injuries at a nearby hospital a little later. Vijay Kumar was married just 45 days ago.
370 डालने के बाद सीधे गुवाहाटी आकर बड़े अटैक करते थे, वो तो सारा सरकार ने उस पर पाबंदी लगाया और कंट्रोल कर दिया। ये उन्होंने नया रास्ता निकाला और वो इसलिए कि दूसरे स्टेट वाले यहाँ वो से कि नया बन जाए, ये प्लानिंग होगी, बाकी तो पता नहीं क्या प्लानिंग है।
The chilling images have sent shivers down the spines of the minority communities and non-local communities in Kashmir. Many from the Kashmiri Pandit community were seen fleeing to escape the terror shadow that is seen to be expanding in the last few weeks and months. In Jammu, the Hindu community vented its anger, seeking protection against the jihadi terror plot. Anger palpable, the outrage visible everywhere.
कश्मीर में कत्लेआम!
यही हमारी एग्नी है, जो हमारी गवर्नमेंट इसको एड्रेस नहीं कर रही है। ठीक है, यही हमारी एग्नी है। हम उनको हमें कहते हैं कि हाँ सेफ एरिया में लेके जाएंगे। सर कश्मीर देयर इज नो सेफ एरिया इन कश्मीर सर।
छोड़ के आना सर, वहाँ पे मरना है क्या? किसके लिए वहाँ पे रुकना है? टोटली अनसेफ है वहाँ पे। हम कमरे से बाहर नहीं निकल सकते हैं, भाग के आना पड़ा हमें वहाँ पे।
फिर से कुलगाम के अंदर राजस्थान के रहने वाले श्रीमान विजय कुमार साहब, जो इलाकाई देहाती बैंक के अंदर मैनेजर थे, उनको निशाना बनाकर पाकिस्तानी कायर आतंकवादियों ने बहुत बड़ा जघन्य अपराध किया है, महापाप किया।
Angry protesters were seen burning Pakistani flags and trampling on them to protest Islamabad's continued support to jihadi killings and forces in Jammu and Kashmir.
ये जो मौतें हैं, हम लोग को बलि का बकरा चढ़ाया जा रहा है और इससे बड़ी लानत और इससे बड़ी ट्रेजेडी कुछ नहीं हो सकती।
The J&K administration had earlier decided to shift migrant employees and those facing terror threats to secure locations by June the 6th. But the administration needs to be asked some very hard questions. How many more deaths in Kashmir? How many more civilians and innocent lives are at stake?
Two targeted killings of the two government employees of minority community in the Kulgam district of South Kashmir has not only exposed the big claims of the Jammu and Kashmir government and security agencies, but in fact increased the worries and fear among the non-Muslims in Kashmir Valley. That is why now many families of the government employees, particularly Kashmiri Pandits, are once again leaving the valley. With Rauf Ahmed, Ashraf Wani for India Today in Srinagar.
Hunted and of course haunted. That's how Kashmiri Pandits who are living in the valley feel right now. The killing of Vijay Kumar has triggered a fresh wave of anger and protests in the valley. Hindus who are employed in Kashmir are now demanding that they be relocated to safer areas. Some have already started leaving, triggering fears of another exodus. It hasn't happened just yet. There are still many who are staying in the valley, but they're scared for their lives.
Packing up their belongings, leaving their homes. In Anantnag's Matan, Kashmiri Pandits employed under the PM package who had come to work from Jammu are departing.
आज मटन के इलाके से भी 20 गाड़ियां निकल चुकी है। आज एक प्रेग्नेंट लेडी को निकलना था क्योंकि डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हमें रोकने आई थी। उस दौरान एक प्रेग्नेंट लेडी की कंडीशन थोड़ा ज़्यादा खराब हो गई, उसको हमने जम्मू भेजना था, उसको रोका गया, लेकिन फिर जैसे तैसे करके सिक्योरिटी फोर्स से क्लैश करके हमने उसको भेज दिया।
Series of targeted killings has triggered fears of another exodus. Hunted and haunted, these Kashmiri Pandits are preparing for mass migration.
हम पिछले 22 दिनों से प्रदर्शन पे हैं और एम्प्लॉयज की डे 1 से एक ही डिमांड है कि हमें सुरक्षित यहाँ से निकाला जाए, हमें सुरक्षित यहाँ से निकाला जाए। तो आज जिस तरीके से एक और किलिंग होती है, परसों एक और किलिंग हुई थी रजनी बालाजी की, जिस प्रकार से निर्मम हत्याएं हो रही है, हम प्रशासन से पहले दिन से जब राहुल भट्ट की किलिंग हुई थी तो डे 1 से हम यही बोल रहे हैं कि हमें यहाँ से सेफली निकाला जाए।
कश्मीर में आम आदमियों की मौत जा रही है, आम जाने जा रही है, कश्मीरियों को मार दिया जा रहा है, इसमें आम आदमी मारा जाता है, कश्मीरी मारा जाता है। अगर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन अब भी कदम नहीं उठाएगी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन तहफ़्फ़ुज़ नहीं देगी, तो हम क्या अमेरिका से तहफ़्फ़ुज़ मांगेंगे?
कंटिन्यूसली सिविलियन किलिंग हो रही है, इसलिए बैठे हैं इधर। देखिए, कल भी एक हमारी बहन की जान चलेगी, आज भी एक भाई की जान चलेगी, उसके लिए एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कहाँ है, क्या कर रही है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन? यहाँ एक आम कश्मीरी रोज़ मर रहा है, इसलिए हमारा पोटेंशियल।
If there is fear, there is also anger. Anger against government inaction and lack of security.
There is no end to the targeted killings in the Kashmir Valley, and behind me you can see that protests are taking place here in Jammu city. These are the protesters. They are the government employees belonging to the Dogra Hindu community, and they are currently serving in the Kashmir Valley. But due to the prevailing security situation, they have fled from the valley and they are here.
7 killings in the last 26 days. Who will save Kashmir's innocence? With Sunil G. Bhatt in Jammu, Bureau Report, India Today.
Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwat Mann has begun the firefight over Punjab singer Sidhu Moosewala's murder. Mann is likely to meet with Moosewala's family in Mansa district today. On Thursday, the Chief Minister also met with AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal to discuss the issue of law and order in Punjab. The crucial meeting chaired between Mann and Kejriwal comes 5 days after the gruesome killing of Sidhu Moosewala. Amid facing heat over curtailing security for VVIPs, the security cover for over 420 VVIPs will be restored from June 7. This is as per the court's direction that the VIP security will be reassessed and later, as needed, will be withdrawn, which is the way it should have been done in the first place. Sidhu Moosewala's father, meanwhile, in a letter to Chief Minister Mann, criticised his government for linking his son's murder to a gang war. He also demanded an apology from the Punjab Police Chief. So let's get you the updates also on the probe into the murder of Sidhu Moosewala. India Today's access now a new video of the murderers. Punjab may be staring at a fresh gang war. Punjab gangster Bhupi Rana, a bitter rival of gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, has pledged now to hunt down Moosewala's killers. He's announced 5 lakh rupees for any information on those who murdered the singer.
Chilling CCTV images of how suspected gangsters tailed singer Moosewala before pumping as many as 24 bullets into him. The images show the gang members conducting recce using a Corolla sedan and a Bolero SUV before finally bringing down Moosewala in a hail of bullets. Multiple CCTV image proofs accessed exclusively by India Today. Punjab police is under immense pressure to nab the killers. Gangsters from Lawrence Bishnoi gang, lodged in jails of Punjab, Haryana and Delhi, are being questioned to hunt down 6 killers involved. Punjab cops grilled Bishnoi gang member Sampat Nehra before taking him to Punjab from Delhi's Tihar jail. Gang lord Bishnoi, crime partner Jaggu Bhagwanpuria and contract killer Shahrukh have already been questioned. Cops suspect gangster Naresh Sethi, locked up in Haryana's Jhajjar jail, may have provided sharpshooters for hit on Moosewala. Gangster Sarat Singh, alias Mintu, who's in an Amritsar jail, is also being grilled. Cops suspect he provided cars for the killers. Meanwhile, Punjab may be staring at a fresh gang war. Punjab gangster Bhupi Rana, a bitter rival of gangster Bishnoi, has pledged to hunt down Moosewala's killers. Bhupi, who's aligned with rival Neeraj Bhavana and Bhambiya gangs, announced 5 lakh rupees for any information on those who attacked the singer. India Today, meanwhile, reached the village of Moosewala's aunt, who the singer was going to meet before being shot dead just 3 kilometers away.
मूसेवाला आपसे मिलने के लिए आ रहे थे? पहले कहाँ आ गए थे?
आया नहीं भाई, उधर रात ही रख लिया, दुश्मना ने आया नहीं करेगा। हाँ मेरा पान जाती जुड़के महंगा थी मेरे नाल, मेरे दिल दा टुकड़ा थी, मैनू मेरे पुत्त नालों प्यारा थी, हुणे आउणा ही थी इत्थे, बहंदा थी आके।
How long before the cold-blooded gang hitmen who butchered an iconic singer are punished? With Shreya Chatterjee and Arvind Ojha in Mansa, Punjab. Bureau Report, India Today.
Ukraine has been reeling under Russia's relentless assault for the 100th day now, and there seems to be no end anytime soon. 100 days after the Ukraine war started, the eastern part of the war-torn nation remains besieged, with Russian forces carrying out missile attacks in parts of the country.
The fire in Eastern Europe has been burning out for the last 100 days. The war that started on February 24th is nowhere near its end.
I've taken the decision to conduct a special military operation. Its purpose is to protect people who have been subject to abuse and genocide by the Kiev regime for 8 years. And to do this, we will strive to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
The special ops Russian President Vladimir Putin expected to end in a few days could go on for many more days, if not months. Ukraine has resisted, and how? The European continent has found a new hero in President Volodymyr Zelensky, who refused to flee his country when faced with Russian invasion.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде і далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Russia advanced quickly through eastern Ukraine, but faced the Ukrainian might as its forces neared Kyiv. While it rained death and destruction, stiff fight back forced the Russian forces to make a strategic retreat from the gates of the capital city. The Russian pullback from Kyiv revealed the real horrors of the war. The killings of civilians in Bucha, a suburb of Kyiv, shocked humanity. India Today's reporters who were in Bucha revealed the real picture to the entire world.
And armored personal carriers show and indicate the kind of battles that have taken place in this area. Not one, not two, but multiple burnt tanks and APCs in this area.
Many nations have since then launched investigations into alleged war crimes in Bucha. Having pulled back from Kyiv, Russia shifted focus to Donbas region in its second phase of war. Today, Russia controls key Ukrainian cities in eastern Ukraine, including Mariupol and Kherson. Heavy fighting has ensued in Mykolaiv and Kharkiv. While Russia has made significant war gains, they have come at a huge economic cost. The country is reeling under sanctions imposed by the West.
I spent a lot of time in Ukraine when I was a senator and vice president. I've spoken to the Rada in the days when they, in fact, didn't have what you'd call a democracy, and was there in the Maidan when the former leader had to take off and head into Russia. And so, you know, but the Ukrainian people have a lot of backbone. They have a lot of guts, and I'm sure you're observing it.
Russia so far has put up a brave front. Kremlin has time and again warned the world of severe consequences, even dangling the nuclear threat at times. The effect of the war is being felt across the globe. Inflation is surging, posing the single biggest challenge to the whole world. For a world that's emerging out of a pandemic, the Ukraine war has come as a double blow. Bureau Report, India Today.
And let's take this across to Gaurav Sawant, someone who's covered the Ukraine war extensively, travelled through Ukraine in the midst of that war. Gaurav, good morning. 100 days now of the war in Ukraine. What's the latest with regards to the situation on the ground?
The situation in Ukraine appears to be heading towards a stalemate. In fact, it's more or less a stalemate, but look at the situation on ground. The Ukrainian president, Zelensky, he's admitted that Russia controls 20% of his country. That's 1/5 of Ukraine is in Russian control after 100 days. And it's extremely critical that the industrial belt, offshore oil, energy, industrial areas, naval ports, all of them are now in Russian control. So this is extremely critical as far as Ukraine is concerned. They are getting a lot of weapons from European countries, from the United States of America. Now there is a promise that longer range weapons will also be provided. In fact, there are reports that seem to indicate that the Grey Eagle drone, and that's an unmanned combat aerial vehicle that can remain in the air for close to 30 hours, carries up to 8 Hellfire missiles. They could also be given to Ukraine in case it's not blocked by the US Congress. And should this happen, this would be the biggest long-range weapon that the Ukrainians will get from the United States of America. This could well be seen as an escalation by some, and Russia has said that the more weapons, the longer range weapons that Ukraine gets is an indication that it's the West that's actually trying to prolong the war in Ukraine. Do we see a dialogue and a negotiated settlement? Perhaps not anytime soon, given the kind of weapons and systems that are being provided. Turkey is likely to provide more, Bayraktar unmanned combat aerial vehicles to Ukraine, maybe through Lithuania. There are longer range artillery, rockets, other weapons and systems that are being provided to Ukraine. So after losing 1/5 of their country, they may try and fight to take it back, which would only prolong this war in the weeks and months ahead.
Right. Gaurav, thank you very much for joining us this morning with all of those updates. 100 days of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Let's get you some of the most defining images of this conflict so far. Heavy Russian shelling on Kyiv changed the entire landscape of the capital city at one point. Once a bustling city of millions, it was standing in ruins as soon as the war began, with a lot of buildings being reduced to rubble. In the initial days of the invasion, Russian forces attacked the main television tower in the heart of Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. The attack potentially disrupted the signal being broadcast across the capital. Right now, all of that has been restored. In the opening combat of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russian helicopters launched a deadly air assault on Kyiv's Ostomel airport to seize it. In the effort to fight against Russian forces, a brewery in Ukraine went from making beer to Molotov cocktails at one point to help people fight back against Putin's army. Residential buildings, the capital city of Kyiv, were reduced to rubble after relentless bombing by Russian forces. Death, despair and destruction was reported widely, not just in Kyiv but across Ukraine.